So I've switched my account today, which really shouldn't make any difference, but it appears that it does. So anyway, I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, I'm live on Zoom on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm back. I saw Jackie. Okay. Got people waiting. Admit.
Okay.
Okay. Admittal. Okay. Hey, Leslie. Hey, Jacqueline.
Hi guys, just trying to figure out my computer here. Is it possible for someone to engage the closed captions? I can see if I can send a
I don't know how to do that. Do you, Blair?
Yeah, well, I just have to okay it. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay, so let me close caption language. How about Russian? No, English.
Yeah, really.
До свидания.
Hey, that's be a good way to like get it out to those guys. Just close captions and request it in Russian. You want to try to change the world, Blair? One person at a time. Okay. I don't think I can. Oh, there we are. You've got it. Thank
I
you.
didn't do anything.
Well, it did it.
Okay.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey, listen, I have a neighbor joining me. Do you want me to use him now or like when more people are here?
Doesn't really matter.
All right.
I can do both.
Hey.
How's everybody today?
Good. And your name is?
Tim.
I'm sorry, Kim?
With a T. No, not Kim. Tim with a T.
Tim.
T.
Okay, nice to meet you, Tim. Yeah, the connection is sort of in and out, staticky. So,
Sorry. Yep.
Let me see if I can fix that, guys.
Hey, Brent, good to see you. Jane, you're looking ethereal tonight.
Green. Oh, hang on. It's this.
No, it shouldn't be. Yep. Actually, let me just try this. There we go. Okay. Okay.
1 minute to begin.
For some reason, my just 2 seconds. What I need, oops.
No Fathom.
No Fathom, yeah. I wanted Fathom to be in. I'm trying to, I'm going to see if I can
Welcome,
engage
Colin.
Fathom.
Who's Charlie?
I'm sorry, I can't do this. Okay, that's fine. Okay,
You ready for us to begin?
Yes, I am, at least as best as I can. I'm going to have to re-add the Fathom to this. I had to cancel my subscription with my third-party supplier for Zoom and then repurchase a subscription with Zoom today. So I did not get all the bugs worked out. So
Okay.
anyway, so with that,
So with that, are we good to go?
yes, we are.
All right. Welcome to the 309th episode of the Blair Dunkley Experience. My name is Patty. I'm a certified mind model method coach and your co-host tonight. Your host is Blair Dunkley, the creator of Mind Models. The Blair Dunkley Experience is Blair's free gift to you. Here he coaches and teaches you using mind models so you can experience effective change in your life. What are mind models? Mind models are simple thought frameworks to help us put names and labels to how we think. Personally, mind models helped me overcome more than a decade of depression. They have positively impacted every area of my life, including my relationship with myself. So we welcome you tonight and we look forward to getting to know you better. All right. So you gonna hang in there with us, Blair?
I'm going to try for a while. I had a very difficult 2.5 hours working on my computer to get Zoom up for tonight.
Okay.
So I managed to do that, but I paid a pretty heavy price.
Okay. So just
A painful
for
price,
people
put it that way.
watching, Blair is recovering from radiation-induced proctitis as a result of treatment for prostate cancer. So
He's
he
in.
joins us as he's able, and we accept his comings and his goings. And whenever he's with us, we're excited, and whenever he's not, we carry on. So we're just going to let you do you tonight and do what works for you, Blair, okay?
Thank you. I'm going to pass the hosting over to you, Jane, if that's okay with you. Okay, thank you. So,
Hey guys, I've got somebody who's dying to introduce himself, which is really good. He doesn't know what he's in for. Anyway,
Okay.
this is my neighbor.
Hello. How is everyone?
hello.
My name's
Hey,
Tim.
neighbor.
Yeah, I live next door to Jackie. She's told me a lot about this class. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say, your perspective on things. And I'm sorry, Blair, that you're going through that stuff. Life sucks sometimes. I'm going through my own shit, but irregardless of what's going on, but sorry for my language. And thank you for you guys allowing me to be here today.
Well,
No
we're
worries.
excited to have you join us. And one of the things about my models is it really helps us all navigate our stuff. You know, we are better navigating with the tools that my models give us than without them. We lead more effective lives even when things are hard. So that's just what's real. Anyway, Jane, leftovers. Did you discover your personal mini stack from last week?
Actually, I worked on something else, and that is my you guys weren't aware of it, but when I sit down to work, I usually, I need to shovel stuff out of the way or clear things out. I spent some time pondering, and I went through the question concepts. I went through general versus specific, and certainty versus clarity, and naming and labeling specifically, and figured out for myself that what I'm doing is I'm trying to clear out the clutter, not just what's on my desk, but what's in my mind. So mentally digging out some of the clutter, because if those thoughts are still in there, they're going to pop out in the middle of trying to concentrate on something that's important to someone else. And I really can't afford my clients to suffer the consequences of my inattentiveness. So by by clarifying and naming and labeling what it is that this means to me, I was able to figure out that I do have a process, and that is step one of my process, is to get not just the clutter on my desk, but also the clutter in my mind
Mhm.
put away so that I can focus on my work. And so by being able to name and label though, that specific step in my process, I realized that I was being consistent. I just didn't have the name and labels for me to feel good about it. So that was a big step for me. You know, that was for me, that was, was huge. And so when I think of my mini stack, just in general, I always think of the 3 E's, and I'm constantly working on those, but naming and labeling and describing feelings are totally up there. And then other situation, because I'm so easily distracted if I'm not careful.
Mhm.
I'll go from one room to the next, and instead of doing the typical, oh, why did I come in here? It's like, oh, what's that? Oh, I better take care of that. And I'll forget what it was I was actually focused on before I walked in. So
Right.
that's a completely different process than what did I come in here for kind of thing. So
So do you want to update us some more next week on your mini stack?
sure. I know that specifically though, those are the ones that are my first go-tos. And then the
Mhm.
others kind of pop in as I'm noticing or
Mhm.
trying to clarify what it is that I'm
Right.
trying to accomplish. Because once I get there, then that's when the rest of it starts to just fall into place. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Great.
but thanks.
Just as a little update for Tim, we are in the middle of a series on stress management. So navigating acute and chronic stress. This is our 7th part in this series. And tonight we're doing how to navigate time with mind models. So tonight the emphasis is on time. And mind models, it might sound, Tim, like we have a little bit of our own language going on here. We have mind models are these thought constructs that Blair has put names and labels to, and the names and labels bring processes to our brain that we can then call on. Because we can identify them, we can call and choose to use them when we want to. And so please, please, please feel free, raise a hand, shake the screen, something if you have a question. So is that a question, Tim? Go for it.
I think I'll just share a little bit about myself. I've been through quite a bit, been to treatment quite a bit. I got the privilege of working with a psychologist from Harvard in the last place that I was in. I've learned a lot of these things like dialectical behavioral therapy, the main part of CBT and how this affects a lot of the teachings that we're doing. I had knee surgery, was given too many painkillers, became an addict, ended up in some pretty deep places. I found my way out. 6 years, July 18th,
Well
all
done.
things, and learned a lot of things. So I can understand some of the stuff that you guys are saying. This is why I wanted to join the class, because I want a refresher in that stuff. I want to learn and re-understand the important things of, understanding emotions and thinking and things like that. And having a different perspective is super important. So that's a bit about myself. I'm going to end it there. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you guys for accepting me. And I look forward to listening to what you guys have to say. That's probably all I'll say today, but thank you for allowing me here.
Are you open if we ask you questions?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Blair, do you have anything that you'd like to say to Tim?
Absolutely. Welcome. Like number one, you picked a good friend in Jackie. She's a very highly effective lady. She can do a lot of things. Yeah. And very caring, very compassionate and understanding. So highly effective. Tim, you sound, I like where your head's at. Let's put it that way. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know if Jackie's warned you that I do profiling. I don't feel up to it tonight. I'll warn you that. I'll share that with you. So
I'm sure
what did
you
you?
love it.
And I'll give you another opportunity. I'll be back.
Okay, great.
Hope
Okay.
so Jackie, if we were to give the link for Blair's gift on the 3 E's, is that something that you could
Oh, I can,
put someplace for Tim?
if you want to pop that in the chat, I can copy and paste it and send
Thank you,
Tim
Jane.
his own link and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Should
I think, yeah, we refer to the 3 E's an awful lot on this broadcast, and this is the free gift that Blair has going over those, and it will go into more depth, but it's a mini stack. What we talk about mini stack is taking, like 3 my models that we just kind of go to all the time, and we run through them. We add other things like seasoning, but we all sort of have our basic go-tos. And with the 3 E's, the first ones are effective versus ineffective. So we ask ourselves the question, is what I'm doing effective or ineffective? And then we go on to external versus internal. Is what I'm doing or thinking externally verifiable, or is it only internal? And then we go to evaluation versus judgment, and we ask ourselves, what's working, what's not working, and what might I do differently? And so we work to recognize when we're into self-judgment, and then we shift our ways out of that using the 3 E's very effectively. So welcome, Shane. Good to see you. How's cows?
Hot and dry again. We got a little bit of rain last night. We're desperately dry again. But
Yeah,
good.
Okay.
Always positive.
we're having the wettest summer that we've had for ages.
I'll
So
send some to Central Nebraska.
I would love to. Anyway, any other personal discoveries in mini stacks? Leslie, did you identify a mini stack from last week? Were you able to put names and labels to a mini stack?
No, it's not that I didn't ponder it. It's just it's been a busy week, but a good
No
week.
worries.
But a
Just
good
wondered
week.
if you had managed to discover something. We would enjoy it when you do, because I know that you noodle on things and you keep noodling on them. So, but when you discover that, we would enjoy hearing what you've got if you'd like to share sometime. Colin, did you discover a mini stack that works for you?
Noodling. I've still been noodling. The success model has been the one that's stuck with me the most. I do a lot of
The who,
talking to
what,
people.
the who,
Yeah.
what, how? Yeah.
Who, what, how, when, where. Yeah.
Okay. So anybody else? Tonight we are dealing with time. So the question is, how does your perspective on time impact your stress level? So how does your perspective on time impact your stress level? I'll give you a moment with that, Jackie.
Well, I'll give you a quick update. My little mini stack that I kind of go to and then pivot from is like, I'm not sure whether it's aware, or notice, aware, notice, and then failing fast, falling forward, pivot. But before I start doing the failing fast, falling forward, I either ask myself, where am I right now?
Mhm.
What is happening right now? It really depends on the emotional part is where I'm more in aware because I'm more internal
Mhm.
and a what is happening. So then it puts me in like a what and hopefully how to like fail fast, fall forward.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Like the one that seems to be the one that I'm starting to internalize and it how I notice it or become aware, and I'm still not sure whether it's aware or notice, is when I start to feel a bit overwhelmed and things are starting to happen fast, or things are just not kind of clicking together. So it's I notice that it's like, oh,
Right.
and then I go, where am I? If it's an emotionally laden one, or what's happening right now. But the now part is very important to bring us into the present, because obviously when I'm in this overwhelmed state, I'm in the present experiencing either future events or past
Right.
are coming into my now. And yeah, so that's kind of what I noticed about that. And about time, time for me is like, let's say I've given myself a list of things to do and I've got to go, I've got to get this done right now. Or I can loosen that length of the now in my mind and say, well, like going to the reasonable man, like what is reasonable right now? Like, because when you think you can do it, it's oh, that'll take 10 minutes. That'll take you get there and you do it. And it's 15 minutes and all of a sudden your now is gone. So being able to notice that and go to like what is reasonable right now. And often when you're doing part of the list, other things seem to bring themselves to their own solution. So I don't know if anybody's noticed that, like when you have a list of two and things, a lot of things to do, some things just seem to fall off the list because they are no longer relevant, or anyway, that's another part.
Yes, their time has passed.
There you go. You're talking about time, Patty.
Moment has passed.
Thank you.
So how does, Jackie, just following up on that, how does that way that you use time impact your stress level?
Well, it minimizes it, and and actually what I've started to notice too is I've started to laugh at myself. It's like, look what I did to myself. It's and I think it's I'm laughing at it rather than going, oh, I've noticed I haven't been doing the right thing again, and oh, look, I wasn't effective with using my now. And I'm like, oh, right on, I've just discovered a way to be that, rather than sometimes when I discovered there was a missing gap in my skill set, I would be more judgmental on myself for not knowing it earlier. Whereas now, when I'm noticing things that are kind of like a oops, I'm more happy with it because it's a movement forward. Anyway.
So your awareness and noticing is leading you into process and understanding yourself and what works for you. Is that accurate?
I would say 100%.
Okay. Hey, Lise, welcome. Glad you could join us. So, Colin, may I ask you the question? How does your perspective on stress, or I'm sorry, how does your perspective on time impact your stress level?
I think it's all of it, right? If I'm in the past, if I'm in the future, well, I guess it's not just whether I'm in the past or the future. It's if I'm reliving the past, doesn't tend to be very effective for managing stress. If I'm in the future, but not in a planning sense, but more of a anticipating possible realities sense, that doesn't tend to be very effective for managing stress. So for me, I really, I don't know if this is a specific mind model combo, but I think of remember now and plan. Those are my words for it. Maybe those are maybe those are Blair words too. I don't know.
Remember now and plan.
Yeah, because the remember instead of relive for the past.
Relive versus remember.
Right, and then
remember versus relive.
Right.
And remember versus relive, and what was
getting into the now, and then
getting to now. That's
I see, planning as a thing. It's it's helping me remember that I can influence the future, but I can only do it in the moment, like right now. Like I can't change the future directly. I can plan in the present for the future.
So how many plans do you, when you make a plan for the future, how many plans do you make?
Just one.
Just one?
I mean,
How
depending on
does,
how you define that term, I guess. I make
I'm just wondering with just
one
one
plan with
plan,
many parts.
right? But with just one plan, how does it feel when you're doing that plan that you have one plan, you're doing the plan? How does that feel to you?
It's manageable for me. So when I say one plan, I guess it's kind of depends on how you define the term. Um, it's more like one mode of operating, I guess I could say. The way that I plan is I prioritize according to my values, and I do tend to time box things on a calendar, but values always come first, so I might have some perfect plan for how I want to use every minute of my time. Of course, life happens, and things rarely go exactly according to plan. But as long as the values are there and the values are first in my mind, then I can modify that plan on the fly and know that that's effective because it's in alignment with my values. I'm not so stressed about whether my life goes according to a perfect set of laid out steps. I'm more concerned with, am I living in accordance with my top three values, which I've defined pretty carefully.
Interesting. Brent, how about you? Perspective on time. How does that impact your stress level?
Well, to be a little bit different from a little bit like concept, a little different on whether I see things being need to be done now, everything need to be done at the moment, or uh, instead of say scheduling out or prioritizing what tasks are need to be done. If that's not done, then everything's got to be done at the same time. So it makes it extremely stressful. Like everything's got to be done in a short period of time right now. So it's like
So
there's not enough time.
within what you've
Yeah.
described, within what you've described, Brent, what are you managing?
What's that?
I said, in your example that you've given us, what are you managing?
As in, oh, all tasks, say like life tasks, business stuff. So all those little extra things during the day. They don't have time during like active work, but all extra things like managing books or scheduling things, getting other tasks done, documents, bank stuff, things like that. It's a lot to handle. Sometimes seems like it's too much, but if you're not scheduling and prioritizing, it can get very overwhelming with the time because it seems like everything's got to be done all at the same time, and there's not enough time to do it. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So go ahead, Blair. Did you want to speak to that?
No, I'm just coming back. I just
Okay.
needed to pop out for a minute.
Okay. So have any of you heard the expression time management at all? Are you familiar with all the books and the speakers on time management? Not an unfamiliar phrase. Leslie, you're smiling.
Ever in my life heard that phrase. Gosh, that's a new one to me.
I love you, Jackie.
Thank you for your sarcasm, my dear.
You're welcome.
Yes.
My pleasure.
So the question is, oh, look at Colin. I enjoy your wordsmithing, Colin, very much. I'm a wordsmith myself, so I appreciate those things. So that begs the question. Colin said personally he prefers self-management to time management, but then that begs the question, can you manage time? Is it possible to manage time?
Well, yes and no.
So,
Well, Tim's saying one thing, he's like saying no, and I'm kind of saying yes. I'd like to understand if he's changed his mind or not about
I feel
managing
like
time.
it's like a yes.
okay, Tim, can you manage time?
It's like a yes and no thing. What to me, time is like, say, well, an amount of minutes. So what do I want to accomplish in those minutes? Do I want to, I'm going through a hard time today. So do I want to spend
I have a
10
question though, but you're saying I'm going through a hard time today. How long is that time? Is it like from the moment you walk out
as
till
long as
now?
you want it to be, which is where I'm trying to get to.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you go, say, I'm feeling these emotions right now,
Mhm.
or I'm thinking these thoughts right now about myself or whatever. I'm gonna say, I just need to go do something. So maybe that's laying flat and just being there. Just
So Tim, when you're doing those things, what are you managing? Are you
well,
managing time?
the emotions, I would say
Okay.
maybe
So you-
some thinking, maybe I don't know what that thinking would be, whether it's a negative reflection of myself or
So you're choosing your thoughts.
I don't think it's somewhat. Yes, I'm somewhat choosing my thoughts. Maybe it's more I'm challenging my thoughts. I'm saying I'm thinking I shouldn't have said that today to that person. So I'm gonna sit there for a minute, say 60 seconds. We'll get into time management and I'll say, well, was it harmful? No. I don't know their opinion on that, but was it
Could I
helpful?
ask you a question, Tim?
Yeah.
So, with all of this stuff that you're managing, is it time or is it behaviors? Some form, because I believe thoughts are a form of behavior.
You're right.
Everything that you described, I can argue it's a behavior easily,
Yeah. You're
but
right.
it's definitely not necessarily time. It's what's done in time,
Okay.
but it's not time itself.
You're right. Because I didn't go into that situation thinking about time.
No,
I went in there trying to fix a thought or a behavior or a thought
correct.
behavior or vice,
You're trying to manage your behaviors. And when we think about it with time management in our mind, we get upset because we can't, at the end of the day, we rarely have the kind of effective success that we wanted to have. Not always, but most of the time. And so we beat ourselves up saying, I wasn't effective at my time management today.
Yes.
And no, but were you effective at your behavior management?
So I think as a response to that, I don't in choosing to answer that question, I don't think that I went into it thinking about time or time management.
No, you weren't.
Exactly.
But the question that precipitated all of this was time management.
Yes, it was.
And yet this is how you flipped everything around to being. And I don't disagree with your arguments. I'm just saying maybe we might want to label those things more accurately.
Okay.
Because we tend to behave to the labels we have. And when we mislabel, we frequently conclude that we weren't very effective at what we just did. And so if you're thinking I'm supposed to manage my time more effectively, and all of a sudden you're doing all of this behavior stuff, and you reflect back, what did I get done in this chunk of time? You don't look at your behaviors, you look at the chunk of time.
To be completely
And unless you had a huge win, a out of the ballpark kind of home run win, then you go, yeah, I managed my time really well. But if you didn't have that experience of knocking that home run out of the park, most of the time we wind up beating ourselves up unnecessarily and unfairly because we were in the process of managing our behaviors, which is exactly what you described that you were doing. And that was exactly what you needed to do. So that was exactly highly effective.
Mhm.
Yet we rarely feel like I didn't manage my time well. No, but you managed your behaviors highly effectively in that moment from everything you described to me or everybody here on the call.
That's what I was thinking in that moment. It was like, I've never once thought about the time related to the process of whatever I was trying to work through, behaviors, thoughts, whatever that may be. So it's interesting to look at it that way and say, I don't think I've ever put a time limit on something like that. I think it's just
Good.
a process that we tend
Exactly. And how effective were you with your process? I did not hear one acknowledgement of your effectiveness with your process, yet everything you said seemed reasonably, moderately to highly effective.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you evaluate your process, it may not be complete because the process usually is incomplete. It's a process, it's a flow. And when you're in flow, you can go, oh, I think I'm fairly effective in my flow right now. I like the smile on your face, sir. Highly effective.
Thank you.
Like, that's where you're going. Like, that works. You know? Okay, I'm going to break my promise and profile you a little bit because that was one of the things that do I have your permission?
Absolutely.
Okay, confidence versus self-confidence is one of our mind models. Confidence is other people identifying your effective use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors. Self-confidence is you self-identifying your own effective use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors. If you don't identify your effective use of your own skills, attitudes, and behaviors, you'll generally wind up judging yourself. And that's what I hear, and that judgment comes down to you not acknowledging how effective you are at the end of the day. And that's too bad because you're sounding fairly effective to me, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyway, just thought I'd share.
Appreciate it.
That's all I wanted to do right now. I don't want to dive in deeper.
So, Tim,
Yeah.
how do you understand what Blair just said?
I think the way I interpreted that is that I am effective in these things. I have some ingrained teachings and values that come up in those situations, but I don't give myself credit for it. And I should definitely reinforce those things for myself, because I think sometimes at the end of the day, I'm looking for the approval of other people, if I was to be honest.
Yep.
And that's and something that I've been discussing with Jackie lately is like the things that I'm doing, some of the things I'm going through, I'm doing for myself, but maybe I truly, if I was to be honest, don't believe that 100%. And I think that would be the truth. And it's just me right now. I feel like I may have, or I'm starting to have the opportunity to learn about that, which would be kind of neat. It might be hard for me to hear, I guess. Sometimes those things can be when we think we're set in our ways, or
Well, how does it feel, Tim, to have somebody else identify your effective use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors? How do you feel when somebody else, like Blair, acknowledges your effective use of skills, attitudes, and behaviors?
I feel grateful. That's one thing. I guess at the end of the day, I struggle with a piece where I feel like I know myself better than somebody else does. But at the end of the day, I think sometimes, and part of the thing that helped me grow through the challenges I went through was feedback and just hearing what somebody else, their perspective or how they felt about the way that I was acting, being whoever you want to phrase that. But so it can be hard, but at the same time, I think I've developed an understanding and a way to frame it as, if somebody's willing to challenge me on things, they must care about me in some way, whether that be the knowledge that they have to help me go in the right direction.
May I interrupt you for just a second, Tim?
Yeah.
And then this'll just be kind of where I'm going to just kind of seal this
Mhm.
is, can you accept what Blair said about you as being true?
It is true.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you
And I
can
know
you just accept it?
Yes, I can.
You know it.
Okay.
We'll work on that. Work on that.
I've heard.
Okay.
I haven't heard similar things, but I've heard. I mean, I haven't heard that.
Okay.
Similar things.
But
Yes.
yeah,
We're just gonna let it rest with acceptance.
he's
Yeah.
still digesting.
Yes.
Ram it down his throat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Blair, would this be an opportune moment? Are you up for doing teaching on results versus goals?
Yes, I am. Actually,
I
that
think
would be.
this might be an effective place to put that.
Yep, I think so. So one of the things that I wound up doing years and years and years ago now, over 15 years ago, maybe a little more, over 24 years ago, I had a client here in Edmonton that was in the top 1,000 companies in Canada. The CEO was my client, and it was a very large staffing company. It was a national staffing firm with head offices here in Edmonton. They actually had a report that they commissioned for $150,000 from a company, nameless, that I won't name, but they defined in that report 15 objectives that they wanted to do in the year. And they had the company, which was a high-end business management or consulting firm. They wrote the report in SMART terms. So I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to talk about goals versus results, because goals are sort of like horseshoes and hand grenades, and results is like playing darts. So that's the first thing. Now, when you go out there, and they were asked to set these goals for the company, but they wrote them to this thing called SMART, the specific, measurable, actionable, attainable, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. SMART goals. In reading the report that I did, I noticed that when I talked to the management team and the C-level executives, they only actually locked into 5 wins during the year, and 10 wins they did not have. And the CEO wanted an evaluation of what caused this to occur. Well, at the end of the day, the CEO was actually arguing that there were 7 wins. I couldn't find those other 2. But it's because they were doing goal setting, partially. The ones that they flipped into results were specific. And they were simple. That was not part of S-Smart. Specific is, but measurable, or simple is not, but specific is. But if you don't pair something that's simple with something that's specific, it's very difficult to get things done. It's only when everybody has the same skill set that companies flourish, but you've got to take it down to ideas that are simple and clear so that you can move forward, and specific. Now, measurable is measurable. They did have that down. Now, they said attainable, and everything there was theoretically attainable. But to my mind, all of those 10 that were not accomplished were not simple, and they were not actionable. In other words, they did not have everything in place needed to take action. They had to build skills or build facilities or do something else in order to make those things happen within the year. Now, they went with realistic. Realistic is an internal state. Things that are realistic to you may not be realistic to me. But there is a thing called a reasonable man theory. And the reasonable man theory is a judge sitting on the bench, adjudicated, but from the point of view of he's supposed to disassociate from himself, move himself out of his own beliefs, his own personal beliefs, and look at it from this common man out on the street that knows the law, but is a reflection of the current society out there, but is reasonable. In other words, most people in society would agree with that the guy's being reasonable. That's what reasonable is a state that is reasoned and shared. So I switched the word out to reasonable from realistic. And timely can stay as timely. So I have an S-Smart thing that I created. And that made things that when you finally start setting results, you look for your next step. And normally I don't teach the S-Smart with this, but I thought I would today, partially because of Tim, but also with Colin here. I thought I'd throw that in, and Leslie. But this point of results versus goals, you've got to be able to play darts and practice your dart game to get results that you want. Because playing horseshoes and hand grenades, they blow up everywhere. And you may or may not hit your target that you need. It may not get you what you actually want. But darts, when you throw that dart and you hit the bullseye, there's no doubt you got your result. You got the bullseye. And it's very clear. Now, if you make it simple, and the thing by which if you make things simple, you shrink down, you move closer to the dartboard, so it becomes easier and easier for you to hit and attain your result when it's simple and specific. And so I like setting results. By the way, I have another short story here. A coach I trained years ago, Carol Mackenzie, was a special needs teacher in Redmond, Washington. And she called me up one day and said, Blair, I've been teaching this curriculum for 2 years, and they want me to teach goal setting. And we keep on having less than 50% of our class, in fact, about 30% of her class, able to get anywhere close to their goals. But I can't change the curriculum. And I said, Carol, can you change one word in the curriculum? And she said, well, I could do that. Okay, great. So wherever they say goals, replace the word with results and see what happens. At the end of that sequence, it was about a month-long thing that she went through with goal setting in the curriculum. When she came out the other side, she said, Blair, I can't believe it. We've got a 68% success rate. And I've never been over 50 by far, and generally into the 30 or 40 percentile of success. In fact, she had that so much success with it that the principal asked, what is she doing this year that she wasn't doing before? And she shared its results, because results have to be specific or they're not a result. So people are motivated to behave to words, not just motivated. We behave to the meanings of our words. So if we think about the result we want and keep it simple, we are far more likely going to get that result if it's specific. Jane.
I like to, I'm teaching this to, you know, whether it's my kids or a friend or whatever, it says, I like to compare it to taking out the garbage so that the garbage gets picked up by the garbage company. I can have the goal to make sure that the can's out there, but if I really need the result to happen, that's where my intention has to be. The result has to be, it has to be done, rather than, oh, I have a goal. Yeah, you know, that's a weekly.
Right, that's sometime in the future.
Yeah, but this result has to happen. So it's that's where intentional results is the term that I have
Yep.
when I'm talking to my kids. This is what we need to, you know, this is the intentional goal versus intentional result, because
yeah, this is my intention and this is my result, because, well, intention, behavior, result is the IBR.
Yes.
Exactly. Intention, behavior, result. Okay? Or intention, evaluation, or sorry, intention, behavior, evaluation, result is the IBER. Okay?
And that way the garbage is gone.
Yes, it gets out generally on time.
So, Blair, thank you for that. Leslie, what did you get out of what Blair shared with results and goals, intentions?
It makes sense. Makes a lot of sense to be looking at results and planning results as opposed to goals. I'm just thinking about this current project that we're working on, and the enormity of it, and the amount of time that it time in the sense of schedule to get the whole thing completed is months as opposed to a month as originally planned. But we will persevere and get it done. But it's interesting that I was in just listening and through this in practicing the results that you want to achieve. Well, yes, I'm realizing this is what is happening, that we're going through this project and getting bits and pieces accomplished at a time on a day during the week, so that all contribute to moving things forward in a logical
Leslie,
progression.
I'm curious. Do you feel a difference in stress or pressure using the word result as opposed to the word goal?
Yes.
What is that
Yes.
difference for you?
Well, there's so many things that can happen in a day that you have no control over. That you have to be flexible and you have to live with it. It's things can change. Things can change that will interfere with what you're setting out to do in a day. That when you get to a project site, that you have to be able to evaluate, figure out how to get around it to so that you can continue to achieve what you want to achieve.
So you're really talking about adjusting priorities as you go through your day. Is that accurate? Are you shifting
Not
Are you shifting
not shifting
process?
priorities. It's
So the
construction.
priority remains the same.
The
So is it your
desired
process
result
you're
remains.
shifting?
The desired result remains the same. It's the process, the methodology that you have to adjust in order to get through to get the results that you want.
Okay.
Construction sites are
Yeah, just
volatile.
a quick timeout, Shane. I know that you have to go early. It's been wonderful having you with us. You take care. Okay, Leslie, I'm sorry for the interruption. It's just been so long since he's been here.
It's good to see him.
But yes, so you're saying with the construction site, the example that you were giving, the overall result that you want stays the same, but with all of the different things that are unexpected that happen, you're changing your process, you're adjusting. What are you adjusting there? Is it the process then, or is it the little intentions, the intention, behavior, evaluate, result, and then you set a new intention when one doesn't give you the result that you're looking for?
I would agree with that. I may not have come up with that statement all on my own, but I agree with you.
Well, Blair sometimes refers to the IBER. He says, like, picture a boardwalk and you're going down the boardwalk, but the boardwalk only has one board every like 4 to 5 feet. So you're leaping from one board to the next, as opposed to with IBER, you're setting those intentions and you're making those little micro adjustments as you go. And it's like putting those boards very close together. How much faster can you move when the boards are closer together? And you're breaking things down into smaller pieces. So your intention, behavior, evaluation, result, you just keep rolling with that, as opposed to big leaps to a result where you might miss the steps that are in the middle.
Yeah. I don't know, what's coming to mind is this project we did last Friday. It's in it was an old building, not anything historically significant, small in terms of buildings, but it was also in an area of town that is suspect with its population. I'm choosing my words here carefully. We show up and there's a person who is leaning up against the building right where we were needing to start. And I wasn't sure at first if it really was a person or just a pile of clothes. And it's, you know, how do you deal with this? How do you go about your business without we're upsetting this person? We don't know if they're just asleep, passed out, or dead. If you get them moving, are they going to be volatile and violent? These are things that we don't normally come up against. We ended up, because we were doing inside the building and outside, and we need to be able to join the two together. We had the garage door open.
So
so
what
that we could do
behavior
that.
did you, what did you do that was effective in that situation, Leslie?
We left him. We realized that he was breathing. He was just either passed out or whatever. We couldn't really determine. But then when we came back to processing our data, we blocked that area of the data out. We took it out.
Okay.
And then did the same thing with the person at the front of the building. You know, it's and then when we had the garage door open, this person wanted to come in and we wouldn't let him in. And he claimed we were being rude and inconsiderate. And I said, he has.
Yep, that falls within that self situation and other where there's not a lot of overlap in some of that.
No,
So difficult
but it's,
situation. I want
yeah,
to
it's
shift
not,
us. Yeah, that's okay. I want to shift us back though, in terms of what behaviors can we manage? We can't always change a situation. You ran up into a really difficult situation, but what behaviors can we manage? So, Lise, we haven't heard from you tonight. Would you like to respond to that one? Are you able to, is that a question that you're able to respond? Well, Tim raised a hand. I didn't see it. Go ahead.
I was just thinking about I have a different understanding of, so IBER is intention, behavior,
Evaluation result.
evaluation result. Okay, so I interpreted that wrong. My bad. I thought it was expectation, and I really had a hard time with that, but that's not it's not relevant. So continue on, because I'm learning more from listening to you talk.
Okay. Brent, did you have?
Oh, on that behaviors, like which ones can we manage?
Yeah, what behaviors can you manage? We cannot manage time, and we
No.
cannot always change a situation, but what behaviors can we manage?
Well, our own behaviors are one. That's not,
Right.
not another person's, but our own behaviors, our thoughts, our
Mhm.
actions, we can manage those, monitor them, and evaluate and adjust. And
Mhm.
so going
So
further,
what mind models might you find effective doing that?
so it would be the 3E stack, like internal versus external.
Yeah.
No, wait, effective versus ineffective, internal versus external, or external versus internal, and then evaluation versus judgment.
Yes.
I don't want to get them. I want to get them in that effective order. That's
Mhm.
so
They do flow that
Tim,
way.
yeah. yeah, for me, that's one I, I find it one of the most used for me. So
Mhm.
that's the easiest one I tend to go with. Um,
I
uh,
find testing assumptions to be really helpful when you're setting
yeah.
priorities and you're working with another person in a situation. I had a situation just this last week where I was working with someone else and we started the day with an understanding of the time that the day would end and we're dealing with childcare. And so about 15 minutes before the day was going to end, I started doing all the things necessary for the day to end at that time. What I did not do was check my assumptions that something might have changed during the day. The priorities might have changed during the day. How did the other person see it? Did they still agree that this was going to be an effective time to leave? All those curiosity questions and testing assumptions and reestablishing alignment, I did not do that and ended up with a hugely ineffective result. A lot of confusion, in terms of managing the children's exit. So it was one of those things that we have a desired result. We were spot on there. We had our intention, but updating as we go with new information and testing our assumptions is also a really big part of managing those behaviors. So does do you have anything you'd like to add, Blair? We're getting close to our wrap up. Blair? I don't think he hears me. Either that or his camera is frozen. Anyway, is there anything anybody would like to share before we begin our wrap up?
Here. So, yeah.
Okay. Did you want to share anything before we start our wrap up, Blair?
Was I on? Did you hear me?
I did not hear you. You were frozen.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
I do.
Okay. So, basically, what I was saying is acceptance and self-acceptance are critical and key. So that's really what I was going through. Yeah, I like being able to pivot as needed. So that's crucial going forward.
So Blair, can I ask you a question?
Yes,
With
please.
reference to pivoting and updating and acceptance and self-acceptance, just looking at managing yourself and the BDE tonight, how have those skills helped you deal with stress tonight with reference to, the BDE has a time, it has a start time, it has an end time, and you have your own situation. So how did you use the mind models, the things that you were talking about, to manage the stress that you're feeling with pain tonight?
Well, number one, you know, clarifying assumptions was really important for me. I know we worked at this, Patty. We worked hard at getting this lesson plan done.
Mhm.
I wanted to clarify an assumption with you, and testing assumptions. It was a big one here, and it's just testing the assumption that you'd be okay with doing this if I couldn't get on more or less at all,
Mhm.
knowing full well that, see you, Colin. Thanks.
Yep. Bye-bye, Colin. Thanks for being here.
If you go. Anyway, so I wanted just to test my assumption and confirm that you'd be okay, and you came back in your text and said that you'd be fine. So I gave myself permission and updated myself to say, okay, if I need to pop in and out, if I need to take care of myself, that will be fine during this time frame. And just the self-acceptance of just not putting the pressure on myself So that's been huge. So anyway, just
Thank you. I thought it might help people to just hear how you were using them in real time.
Yep.
So any other contributions, or shall we go ahead and start wrap up? Yeah, Brent.
I just wanted to you on the goals versus results there. And if you're looking at the goals, you move to S-Smart to be more effective. That's more attuned to getting results, very specific and actionable. The actions there like results. You got the behavior, so action with the behavior, and very, very specific and simple in defining that that result. So, if you're looking still using that goals, the S-Smart is much more effective in doing
it
more
is.
to results. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Yes, Tim.
I noticed, and not to be too specific, but I noticed there's maybe a similarity between intention and expectation. And I noticed that's a hard thing for me to discern myself.
Mm.
And I feel like sometimes when people are talking, I feel like I interpret that as an expectation as opposed to an intention. So I'm just maybe looking for some clarification on maybe some specific traits or thinking or whatever would go along with making those separate, because an expectation can be you can be let down, whereas an intention, you're trying to achieve something, and whether you do or not, you don't have that higher bar where I'm going to do this or have to do this, whereas I want to do this and would like to do this. So I think that's just where my confusion came into.
Yeah, Blair,
I
could
think
you
you've done a
speak to
very
that?
good job of explaining it, because I was very close to how I was going to be doing it. I don't think we need to put more pressure on ourselves. So we set an intention of what we are going out to achieve.
Yeah.
But if we have expectations, then we have this preconceived judgment of how things should be. Whereas expectation, well, and that's with expectations and intentions are, I'm intending to do this. Let's see where it gets me. Let's see where it goes. And it's way more in the present. Whereas expectations are generally taking some level of past information and pushing it into the future with no regard for where we are right now. Yet, if we're in the moment and in the present, and we have an intention of doing something, well, did we fail if we didn't meet our intention? No, we are still marching forward and figuring out, because it's a process. Whereas an expectation is a goal that you think you should achieve. Whereas intentions are, if you break it down, you can sort of do micro IBERs on your intention, because you set an intention, you figure out a behavior, you do the behavior, you evaluate it and see how much closer you are to your result, or you adjust the behavior and set a new intention, do a new behavior, and keep on iterating.
So quick question, is a result an expectation or an intention? Because that's, I agree with.
No, a result is a result.
Okay.
Okay, a result is a result. Don't try and blend the two.
Okay.
Now, is it your intention to attain the result? Or is it your expectation?
Mm-hmm.
It's my intention to hit results, but I have to do behaviors in order to drive myself to a given result.
Right.
Whereas an expectation is way more internal. And if I have that expectation that's highly internal, I'll probably judge myself if I don't attain that expectation. And because I haven't chunked it down into something that's identifiable, repeatable, and duplicatable, and it definitely hasn't been, that intention does not have the behaviors attached to it if it's an expectation. If you have an expectation, what are your behaviors? I don't know. I just expect myself to do it. how do you plan on doing that if you don't have the behaviors to do it?
Or the intention.
Well, exactly. If you have an intention, you generally work at finding behaviors. Whereas if you have an expectation, you generally hope that you can do it.
Or is that like having a behavior towards the expectation and almost like be careful what you wish for?
Yeah, sort of, but
I know it is very loose, but I'm
yeah,
just kind of thinking about
it's
if you're assumption based, you're behaving from that assumption, and yeah. Anyway, yeah. Retract the careful what you wish for, but your assumption based, so your behaviors are based on the assumption or the result you're trying to
well,
obtain.
no, it's based on the assumption you're trying to create. If you start switching between assumption and result, you're going to confuse yourself, and then you're going to start blending assumptions and results.
Instead
And
of
so be
intention.
careful, keep them clean.
Okay. So
Sorry.
part of what we do, Tim, at the end of every BDE is we do something called a wrap up. And we ask that you share one thing that you obtained out of the broadcast tonight and put a number of 1 to 10 on the value that you take home from this. So the number 1 to 10 is not rating how well did Blair do, how well did I do. It's the content. What did you get out of it that's usable that you can take home for you? And so that's the number 1 to 10. So I'm going to have a few people do it. And then if you would like to participate, great. If not, you feel free to say no, and we're good with that too. So Leslie, would you like to start us off tonight? Would you like to do wrap up?
Certainly, thank you. I've got a 9. Again, made a bunch of valuable notes here. Things I've highlighted. I would like to noodle more about my process.
Oh, we'd like to hear more about it when you do. And Matt, we're glad that you came in, even if you came in late. We're just very glad to have you here tonight. Lise, would you like to share a wrap up with us tonight?
Yes, I would like to say that I give it a 9, and basically a result. There's no judgment in a result. You get to have something and to adapt as you go. So just to take a step back, breathe, and take time to look, unless you're go, go, go. And so versus feeling not satisfied. So basically, it's just to you set a goal, but the result is the main word that got to me, and judgment is not part of the equation.
Yeah. Results just are. They are just what is. And then you deal with what is. So well said, Lise. Brent, would you like to give us your wrap up tonight?
Oh, yes. Man, the intention versus expectation piece there at the end was very I find it informative. The difference between the two, there's a feeling, but defining it and putting, the descriptive words to it to really have the difference between the two. It's, the state you're in, the way you're saying it, external versus internal is where I really, I feel the two is where you have them, use those words where you're feeling it. It's feeling from the inside or feeling from the external is like, oh, it is, intention. It is what I'm going to do, and I do the behaviors, and that's what it is, and then I just evaluate. But if I may share something about the IBER, I found I heard somebody describe it, but it was a little bit different. But it was much more effective with IBR, but I wanted to share what this gentleman, how he defined it.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
The gentleman's name is Joe McConigal. He is the first PsyOps guy with the Army. So he does remote viewing and out-of-body experiences. So he was the first one to do that. So what he came up was attention to detail about the target and expectation for outcome is what is basically regarding, the activities. But what he explains is that's to be successful in anything, you need that in life wherever. So it's the same with IBER, but it was much more accurate with the intention, behavior, results, like, expectation of outcome. That's a little bit judgy, but that's more, you're defining your result, what you're really, so it's intending something, having your result, and then going for it. So it was just a little more effective with IBR, but it's very close. But because
Yes.
he did state it was, you need that in every part of your life to be successful at something. So you have to set these up and follow like a path and instructions. So I
It
found that
also
to be very
helps, yeah,
interesting.
the IBER also helps make things more bite-sized. So it breaks things
Mhm.
down in terms of dealing with that sense of overwhelm. If you can chunk it down into little pieces that you can achieve, it's that whole, how do you eat an elephant thing, one bite
Mhm.
at a time.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
said that, Patty. I was going to say, eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Yes.
I found it because the attention to detail about the target was the behaviors. You have to do the little things, the little attention to how you're going to get there, the focus on that's the little things. And then the expectation piece is where I was like, well, that seems a little bit of a judgment, expectation of an outcome. It's closely related to your result, but so it's got that judgment piece to it.
Mhm.
There's like, you're running the specific, result is where to be more accurate. This is what I intend to, the result I'm looking for. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I want to
But
give,
I give it 8 for me tonight.
okay.
Yeah.
Shane left his evaluation in the chat, and so did Shannon. Shane's is behavior like emotions are able to be chosen. Time can't be managed, but actions inside timeframes can. 3E's IBER name and label are his go-to stacks, and he gave it a 7.5 tonight. Shannon, I appreciated the review of goals versus results. The conversation around expectations and intentions was awesome as well. I forget the judgment expectations can contain, as well as being content focused and how process based intentions are. And she gave it an 8 tonight. So, Tim, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
I sure will. So I relate to a lot of what Brett said. Um I I don't think I really understood the difference between intention and expectation, except for one is I feel like something you want to do and the other one is something that you have to do. As an expectation, you put that pressure on yourself. So I really appreciate that clarification tonight. I appreciate you guys allowing me into the group. I'm going to give it a 9, and the only reason I'm leaving a point off of there is because I missed some of it, and next time I'll be more I'll pay more attention. But yeah, the conversation about intention and expectation, and then learning a bit about how time management, and it doesn't really the way I looked at it. So the feedback that I got was really important. That I need to stop paying attention to um, the fact that how is this phrase, but not the result, but I'm losing my context of thought. But so yeah, sorry. Thank
Oh, no
you.
worries.
It was a lot to take in tonight because I haven't done anything like this in a while. But
I
again,
was going to say we tend to be sort of content dense here.
no problem.
So for you to get a take home is really wonderful, and we do hope that you'll come back and
I'll be back.
give it another shot. Jackie, do you want to participate in wrap up?
Hey, yeah, sure, thanks. I've been popping in and out. We've been actually, Tim has been helping me doing a lot of renovation, and we've been pulling out insulation and got the final part in and out today. And so I've been distracted trying to wrap that up before things get wet outside again. I just want to thank you all for making Tim so welcome. Like it's been 2 weeks. I've been working on him 2 weeks. And
Good job.
And I've worked on we did the relive and the remember. And when that came up, I was like, oh, remember that. And talking about the word my and the shirt, and I noticed he used a few today, and we haven't even got into the why yet. But I thank you so much. Basically, I what I learned tonight is I just need to keep doing what I'm doing and not getting too comfortable. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay. Blair, how about you? Do you want to give a wrap up tonight?
Yes, thanks. I 8 3/4 because I don't feel like I'm fully here tonight. I would like to have been more present, but I'm 8 3/4, almost a 9 for what I was able to do. I'd say it's the 9, but it's 0.25 off because I was not able to be here consistently. That was a little bit beyond my control in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed, Tim, you jumping in here and getting on. Matt, I'm always thrilled when you do get in here. Thank you for coming in late or whenever you come. You're always welcome. Lise, the same thing with you. Just loved you. You weren't late, but I mean a few minutes, but you were here almost full time. So thank you so much. Yeah, it was amazing. And, Jane, Leslie, thank you. You guys are all great. Brent, you're a rock. So thank you, sir. So, yeah. So thanks, Matt. Love being here. Love you being here. So there you go. Patty, it's always great having you co-facilitate. And in this case, almost facilitate the whole thing. So thank you.
You are welcome. So for me tonight, I'm going to give it a 9 as well. I enjoyed hearing people's perspectives on things and being able to have a discussion that is so grounded to where so many of us are really living. It's the stuff that we're dealing with day to day. I am one of those people that fell into the whole time management trap instead of my own behaviors, and putting this together for tonight was a really good wake-up call for me to manage my own behaviors and to make those choices. So pivoting in the moment with those priorities and staying true, as Colin said, being true within a framework of values. So that's what worked to me tonight. And I love, Blair, that you had the freedom to pop in and out. That was very meaningful to me for you to be able to take care of yourself tonight. So, Jane, would you like to give us your wrap up and then take us out?
Yeah, thank you. Interesting topic of looking at it from navigating stress and time rather than, but actually seeing it more of navigating our behaviors. That was I like the perspective. I really like the perspective. There were several points that I kind of jotted down that I want to go back and listen to. And the one was the explanation of the expectation that you did with Tim. That was really good. I always think of expectations as, well, I know that after my divorce, I got to a place where I decided that I was not going to put expectations on people because that just set me up for disappointment. And it's reasonable to expect certain levels of behavior, but it's unreasonable to expect certain results from people when it's just not in them, whether it's not in their belief, or if it's not in their capability, or if it's not in their intention. Because if they don't intend to do it, and I think that was one of the things my mom and dad, I used to watch my mom and dad on, is my mom, you know, she expected my dad to do certain things, and you know what? He had no intention of doing it. And so then she would just be really frustrated because they weren't getting done. And so, and then of course I got the explanation later. No, you don't understand. If he does that, Jane, then she's going to have something else. And so if he just never quite gets there, then there won't be something else. And so my sister was very good at explaining the behavior dynamics between the two of them. And I just found it entertaining. Anyway, so expectations is a big thing, because we tend to impose it on others rather than, and we think that we can control them and put that through. So I love Tim's mini stack where he includes the influence versus control, because we can't control other people. We might be able to influence them, but if they have no intention, then having that expectation is just unreasonable. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give tonight an 8.5.
I'm just going to say that Tim and Becky, we expect them to be back with us next week.
Okay.
And Tim is going to present more on feedback and Becky more on care and concern. So
that's going to be wonderful.
yes, I'm looking forward to having them back.
Yeah.
So
thank you everybody for coming. It makes the whole learning environment rich, and for me, I tend to take in more when I hear the different questions and the different understandings as people go through. And then of course it's such a thrill to listen to Blair when he can clarify a point or teach a new point, because I learned so much when I'm here. I appreciate each of you, and I'm getting to know at least just a little bit better. I love hearing from the newbies. Tim, welcome. It was really wonderful having you here. And I can see why Jackie would want you to be here, because you have a lot to offer. We learned a little bit about, see, Jackie agrees with me, so I love it. Anyway, the playback will be available on YouTube, and it will be available on under the Blair Dunkley Experience web channel. And let me get that link up here for you. In the chat. Whoops. It's not the right. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I will get it up in just a moment. It's helpful for others to be able to see this video showing up in other people's channels, the algorithm, if you guys can stop in and like it. It's helpful if you view it, but since you were here, that's a little tougher. But tell your friends about it, share it with people, and let them see it, because everybody I see pointing, because we all are enriched by this knowledge that Blair has really just sharing it with us I know it's enriched my life. So share it with others. And then the Facebook will be up later in the week. And again, comment. If you do a comment, it also helps the algorithm. And it's one way to help Blair get the word out. I mean, his goal, is it a goal, or is it I have to ask.
A desired result.
Desired result to have mind models touch 100,000 people. And as we share with others, and as we share the mind models and let others learn of them, it helps not only with his desired result, but also helps touch their lives and hopefully can make it more effective and improve. So thank you, and we'll see you guys next week. Next week we'll be doing is this particular navigating acute and chronic stress series going to continue? Or are we going to get
Well,
more?
I'm thinking next week might be the last week. We'll see how the discussion goes. But I
Okay.
think we'll wrap this series next week.
And then we'll have a new series.
Then we will have a new series.
Okay.
I just want to say something.
Yes,
Because
Jack.
it's a little conversation here, and I'm sorry, I'm sharing, Tim. he had been so stressed for, like, let's just say a week, whatever. He just looked at me with this big grin on his face and he said, I feel good.
Thank you.
Warms my heart.
Thank you, everybody.
This stuff works, guys.
I mean that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I mean, mind models work. They just do. And Lise, the stuff that you shared privately in the chat, I'd love to figure out how to get people mentoring or monitoring or whatever, on here. I'd love that. I'm totally open. If you have contacts or connections, yeah.
It's just that I did work in a school, and was seconded in secondary schools, but this just came up because I got your book the other week.
Okay,
I haven't, I've only glimpsed a few things, but it's just that when I get a thought, it's more like, can I pass it on so that somebody else can pick up the ball and roll with it? And like, is it Edward Bono or, the colors? Ideas change. So, and it may take a different shape. So it's just food for thought, because the youth, the leadership, there's something that I think would be beneficial if there's a kit or something with a few things, maybe 3 things that you can focus on to work on, the main things. That's just my thought.
I would love that. I will take that in and think about it, mull it around.
I must say, when Jane helped me out, and still is helping me out, being a buddy, and it was like it was my accountability partner. And that accountability partner, even though I've ignored her a little bit, she has not gone away.
That's what accountability partner does. Doesn't go away.
Message and Jane, I'm going to get back to you, but I can't wait to show you what I've been achieving. Not that anyway. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. And I found that really effective. I mean, Jane and I are on here all of the time, but it would be nice to hook up with somebody who doesn't necessarily come on all of the time, so we can establish little, like, those, like, what are those strings that go out into the universe? Anyway,
Threads.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think that we're good to wrap. You have any final comments, anyone?
Thank you again, everybody.
Say good night. Okay. Well, we'll see you all next week. Thank you for being here. Bye for now.
Good night.